Okay, so we did a test on what kind of weight and flex I like, and it turns out it was 95. Now, which 90 gram shaft am I going to pick? Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is the McGolf Channel, where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, and golf club fittings. Did I say that right? Fittings, reviews, repairs. Good enough. And also your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit all that stuff across the bottom. That way you get more of this information when the information drops. More of the information when the information drops. More information when the next video drops. And this gets out to the YouTube universe. We also have a live stream on Mondays, What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Same stuff, more live, goes for a while. I think you'll enjoy it. Join us, Facebook or YouTube. All right, so in my last video, what we did is I compared the TZ iron shafts, and it was a great iron shaft from 75, 85, 95, 105, and 115. Covers the gambit of players type shafts. All right, which begs the question now, I've been testing with other 90 gram shafts. Which 90 to 95 gram shafts should I pick? Therein lies the question. So what do I have installed here? Well, what I have are three shafts. I have three 95 to 95 gram shafts. And two of them from one manufacturer and the other one's from one. So let's get with that. Number one is the TZ95. You guys saw that one before. It is a silver PVD finish, player's profile, and they use three sets of technologies on it: uniform taper, constant flex, and the S3. I like it, right? It did well for me, but we got to figure out if these other ones work. The second one is another Accra shaft, and it is the Accra 95 ICWT. And what does that mean? The I-Series constant weight technology shaft. And what is this? This is a constant weight shaft for various lengths. So in the idea, and it's really kind of cool in this one, and I don't know why we don't use more of this one, by the way. It is a slightly softer version of the TZ, and what I get out of this one is when we have taper tip shafts, they were constant weight shafts at different lengths. And what do we do here is we get some different lengths, but it's a 370, so I can do some tip trimming. So it's like the best of both worlds. Not bad. And it's a new updated one with new updated graphics, a new updated profile. I believe the butt section is just a little bit firmer than the older one, and we're going to use that one. And then finally, the one that you guys have seen me do testing, because it was the only one I had, was the KBS PGI, and it's the 90 gram. Now this one is a much more softer version than the TGI. The TGI is very, very firm, almost to the point of being brutal. And this one is a much softer version. Mr. Braley said this is the one that he thinks is the best. So we're going to test those. So I'm going to mention again, I'm sure, but what we're doing is I'm using ZX7 head. I'm using Q-Star balls, so everything's the same. We're going to hit 5 apiece, and I'm going to go back around. I'm going to hit 3 apiece. I'm going to eliminate 3 in order to get, and it's just purely distance, because if I just look at numbers without looking where they went, then I can test dispersion in order to make game calls on that one. So let's go hit some balls. All right, here we got some results of our 3 shaft comparisons in the 90 gram category, but before we go and do that, I want to show you how they flew. Now again, to talk about the testing that we did, I hit 5 shots apiece with each one of them in a round, and then I went back and hit 3 more shots apiece, just in case. You know how every once in a while you can get out there and you can get into a groove and it's late, and so your first couple of trials really weren't that good. So what I'm doing is giving ourselves a shot to come back around, and what I'll do is I'll take out the 3 worst by distance, and then we will come back and take a look for the consistency. So here's the TZ95. We take it in a flight, and it's pretty tight. It's a little to the inside, and there you see them all land. Not bad. All right, let's go back. This is the constant weight series from the I series, and it's in the 95. More of a fan. You see I'm going more towards the center with, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, more into the right. All right. And then the PGI, we take it, and it's more of a pull to the inside. A little more, it looks really dispersed from the back, and you got the 1, 2, 3, 4 out here that are wide right, with the rest of them being consistent. All right, let's take a hard look at the numbers. If we look at the results, the 95 wins the day at 183, 187. That's pretty good because that beat the numbers in the previous test. The PGI comes in a close second at 179 and 183, and the I series at 174, 177. Now, let's take a look. Normally, something gives a reason why this is happening. But we got 84 and some change, 84 and some change, 84 and some change. So it's not swing speed. Here we go, 138, 142. So quality of hit. I wasn't getting the reaction out of the club like I did with the TZ95. Although the I Series club hit higher, the other two were pretty much on the same. The flights were very, very similar, and my rollout was 3.5, basically 3.4, 3.5, and 4.1. So the only thing that's giving it away is it looked like I just hit the TZ a little bit better. So now let's go back and let's go knock out some numbers. Purely the low ones, right? So if we look here, 166, it's all going to be based on carry, 168, and 174. We've got some good numbers coming out of that one outside of that. All right, so we got here 177 and 181 right there, and another 181. That looks pretty good. All righty. And then the I series, whoa, there's a couple extras in here. All right, let's get rid of them. And we do that. And looks like 176, 177, and 180. These are both the same. So we'll just take the bottom one. There we go. So now what's it going to look like? I think the PGI is going to win. And it did by a yard. It's 1 yard better in both categories. A little bit more to the inside, a little bit faster, but by a little under a mile per hour, and hit all of them about the same. We look at our the I series still hitting it higher, the TZ the next highest, and then the PGI a little bit lower than that, and with the same kind of result as roll. Now let's see how they look. All righty. So here we go. The blue is the TZ, and the red is the I series, and the green is the PGI 90. So this takes us into the fitting conundrum, all right? If a person comes in there and they say their number one concern is distance, then the PGI wins the day, and it does. It wins by 1 yard. Now, you're like, well, that's just 1 yard. Yeah, but that's the category that was most important to the golfer. However, if we're going, well, consistency's nice as well, then we have 2 to consider. And if we go back and we look at how they landed, and we see a nice tight pattern versus a bigger pattern, then for 1 yard to be a little more consistent, then the TZ would win the day. Now, if we go to a single view, the I series is actually more into the center, where these were just 2 poles. Then the PGI is kind of all over the map to the inside there, and then the TZ is sitting right there very, very well. So you got kind of you have your choices on this one. If you're looking for length, we know which ones to go to. If you're looking for a level of consistency, you might look at this one, or you might look at that one. And it gets down to what's the feel, okay? So let's go back and take a look at our flights again, now that we've took them apart, and then we'll go and talk about it some more. So there it is, more to the inside. It's not a shocker. A little bit more condensed than it was before. The I series, definitely more down the middle. And then you see the two flyers, but other than that, that's, you know, a very good expectation. Then the PGI, and more pull, and you get to see these things. That's just too far to the right for me. And then you get that one right there. All right, so we saw they went, we saw how they work, and so let's talk about how they would fit. Well, that can be very telling, can't it? It can be very telling when you take out the three worst shots. Some of them were pretty bad, some of them weren't necessarily so bad. However, it did change around some stuff, right? The PGI went from number 2 to number 1 in the category of distance, and being just a couple yards behind to just being 1 above. The TZ6 played very, very well, and it was at number 1, went to number 2 purely on distance, with the constant weight coming in third. Now, the thing is, what we saw here was now we're in a conundrum because the TZ was much more compact. The I series was much more towards the center, and the PGI was a much wider dispersion area. So there's the fitting question, right? That's the conundrum for fitters. Now, what we try to do here at McGolf is we try to ride that fine line of the best of both worlds, the best of both worlds. So if you are a much tighter pattern, and you were only 1 yard shorter than the best distance, and the best distance was much wider, I would say that we would go with the tighter pattern. That way you know more of what this thing is going to do. Now, not to leave out the ICWT, in that was the one that found the middle of the fairway for me 3 out of the 5 times, where all the rest of them were on to the inside right, I believe, save one. All right, so you have one that hits a little bit straighter, you have one that hits a little bit tighter, and then you have one that hits a little bit further. So that's the reason why you do these kinds of things. You go to these fittings. They're all significantly different profiles. They all have their different things. So the TZ is the lower launching, where the PGI probably is number 2, and the ICWT is the highest of the clan. I thought that as a whole, that the PGI and the ICWT were very similar in their feel, and that they felt a little bit softer than the TZ shaft. Not so brutal as like the PGI, or the TGI, but it was the TGI or the TZ was very well received when I was swinging it. It had a really good feel. It wasn't stiff. It wasn't, whippy, as like people wouldn't like to have that. Where the other two were they felt softer. They didn't feel like I was losing control by any shape of the imagination. They were just a little bit softer. Alrighty, so again, if I'm picking one, it's a really close tie, but I think I'm going to go with the TZ shaft. So again, if you have any questions about stuff like that, put them in the show notes. Ask me on the Monday live streams about why I would select something like this, and which one would you pick. Matter of fact, which one would you pick? You saw all the descriptions, all the things that was going on. Which one would you pick, right? And again, put them in the show notes. Join us on the live stream. And as always, let's see your scores go low.